Hi, everybody. So, for those of you who don't know, I am Uma. I'm a mental health counselor. I practice in Chennai over, online. It's completely online. So, the video that I'm going to show you is me sitting. I used to sit with participants in front of me, and I used to talk to them about toxic relationships or manipulation or how it works and how we can safeguard ourselves. So I used to do this online in a live session. But now I wanted to keep it in a recording so that other people can see it when they have the time and then come and work with me in future. Okay, so what this video is going to be about is you're going to understand that manipulation is real, first of all. Okay, so most of us, we feel pain when we label some other person as manipulative. Although it is slightly, we like it somewhere to label somebody else as a problem so that we don't, we feel some sort of self pity that we feel comforted with. Okay, but the difference between a person um, who is actually empathetic and a person who is not empathetic is that where you actually know, you are aware somewhere that you are using that self pity and to portray the other person as manipulative. And so you have something called as guilt. Guilt is something that a person without empathy will not have. So they will continue doing that. They will continue framing themselves as the victim. They will continue using all that self pity to not work on themselves. They will be happy in portraying the other person as a negative individual, as a toxic individual. But if you are empathetic, you will feel some pain, even though it is true that the other person is causing harm. It will be very difficult for you to label the other person as a harmful or a toxic individual. And this is very sad that it most often happens in relationships which are very close to us. Okay. So that is when it becomes even harder to label our own parent, our own brother or sister, our own spouse, or it could be in any form. It could be your best friend you've known for years. And finally, you start to get some doubts as to what is this relationship actually about. I feel that I am being influenced in ways that I'm not consciously aware of. I have so much love for this person, but somewhere I feel that I'm making decisions which are not my own decisions. So that is when the turning point starts happening. And then you get to see other sides of the individual, which you yourself could not admit that they were doing something harmful to you. Okay, so if you have resonated with me this far, I want you to continue. And even though it feels somewhere it feels terrifying, and somewhere it feels you're curious, you're ready to learn something new, because you are understanding that relationships are not just about love. Relationships are also about mutual understanding, having the space to say what we also think and feel. So it's not only about the other person's needs. So you're starting to understand that there is more in a relationship, there is more space that you deserve. So when you start to understand that, and when you are ready for it, there, and if you are resonating with whatever I'm saying, I want you to continue and don't give up. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a file that I sat down with live with other participants who all somehow, even though I've met many people who gone through relationships that were manipulative in nature, I still felt goosebumps. I still felt a mild sense of shock seeing that there is a pattern to the experiences that they were personally feeling in isolation. They were going through certain feelings on their own, but as we sat as a group, and as we started saying out loud what was happening and what they felt on the inside, and they saw other people feeling the same way, we all together as a group felt a mild sense of shock and surprise seeing that we all felt it, but we were alone with it. Okay, so that is something I want to beat. Okay, so we are all here together, and let's get into the video. And yeah, this is my camera. So when I'm looking at here, I'm looking at the camera, and I'm looking at this direction, I'm looking at my laptop. Okay. So I've named this presentation as why does it hurt so much? Because most of us, when we feel that internal sense of hurt against someone we totally trust, so we can't even name it like, I trust this person. It is something that is so natural that you actually trust that person. It's a natural way for you to create relationships. And now you think that relationships are supposed to feel good. But why does it hurt so much? So any relationship comes with a package of where, you start understanding, you start seeing things a little differently because of their influence, and they start seeing things differently because of your influence. You both have some power struggles. You learn from each other through misunderstandings. So this is normal. But as you can see, the name of the presentation is why does it hurt so much? It shouldn't hurt us so much. So we're going to get into as to what is actually happening when it comes to toxic and draining relationships. So as I said, this is the same preview of the presentation I had live with other participants. So some of the slides may not make sense. So I'm just going to move to the actual presentation. So I want to start off with saying this quote, which is so wonderful, by Maya Angelou. She says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So we all, grasp tightly to this idea called the benefit of doubt. How long will you hold on to benefit of doubt until you get so drained? How long? Because our need for meaningful relationship or our need for love and attention is so high that we are blinded by this concept called benefit of doubt. Okay, so this quote can actually help you break that. Now, the characteristics of toxic relationships. So this is as per science, as per the books that I've read, as per the courses that I have personally done, and also my own personal experiences. So the characteristics of toxic relationships will be, I'm splitting it into 4. The first thing is seeking control, not understanding. So when you have an emotional reaction, or when you try to express your need, or when you try to express your way of looking at things, you're flexible, you're open, you just want to know what's happening. So there, what you want is understanding, but what you get is control. So it may be direct. So when it is direct control, it could be through anger. They could throw tantrums, or it could be indirect, like silent treatment, defensiveness, not ready to talk through things. So what they do is they do 2 main things. One is they control you through fear, or they control you through guilt. So these are the only 2 doorways. So one door is fear, by causing some tantrum and getting all angry, throwing things and everything because of not being able to control their own emotions. But for us, when we are facing something as like that at the opposite end, for us it causes fear. For them is emotional dysregulation. They are not able to control their emotions, but for us it is fear. Okay, so we feel fearful, and hence immediately our brain goes into certain things that I will explain in the coming modules. So when we are fearful, one thing is we cannot make logical decisions. So that is one way they can control us, because when you are afraid, you cannot make logical decisions. So you will be in their control. So the second doorway is guilt. So guilt is like making you feel like they are giving you more and they are getting very less from the relationship. So it will be like you're not grateful enough, or it could be any other thing. So, or maybe causing guilt by body shaming, or by saying that whatever you do is not good enough. So there will always be something that we are all insecure about, okay? That we are all guilty all the time. So most of us are not aware of this. That is the only difference. Either you're aware of all your guilt, your insecurities, and where you feel like you're lagging behind in life, you're not doing enough, you're aware of all the skills that you don't have, you're aware of all that, or you're not aware of that. You're not aware of how insecure we are as human beings. Human beings by nature are insecure, okay? So even more so because of how the society is conditioning all of us to think. Let's say, for example, for me to prepare to put this video on, I had to go and put this eyeliner and lipstick and all that, because I couldn't present myself the way I am. I don't look like this. I don't have a thicker eyelash. I don't have these colorful lips. Okay. My lips are not red or however it shows, but I had to put this on. So I had to put something on in order to look presentable. Okay. So that is okay. That's a fancy way, but it is also causing an insecurity as to why don't I look enough as I am, right? So this is sort of a very hidden, very indirect sense of conditioning that happens, that we are all left to feel insecure inside of us. Okay. So now why am I explaining insecurity so much is because we feel so isolated in our insecurities. It is like a hook for toxic relationships. So there are two doorways. One is fear and one is guilt. So they make you feel insecure without you haven't complied to it. You haven't said, yes, I'm okay to feel guilty. I'm okay to feel controlled. You are not even aware of it, but that's how you feel in this relationship. Okay, so they seek control and not understanding, and that control happens through fear and guilt. Second one is emotional avoidance or emotional immaturity. Okay, so this is something, it is very hard for us to realize in the beginning, because whoever we feel, in this, whoever we feel that we are into in a toxic pattern or whatever, no, we feel that because we trust them so much. Why do we trust them so much? Either we trust them with their knowledge or we trust them with their relationship. Okay, so we think that they are so loving, they are so kind and so nice, but we are the problem. So we think that. So as I said, fear and guilt in the beginning, we think that we are the problem constantly, and there is a hidden door that they keep using to make us feel that way, to seek control. So you're always one step below them in some manner because you respect them that much. And now that is why it is very hard to understand that they are emotionally actually immature. Okay. So what is maturity? Maturity is understanding that maturity is being flexible to new other people's opinions, flexible to changing ourselves. Okay. When I mean changing ourselves means in a way that that is more to be empathetic to the other individual. Like they are going through something. So that is something that I can do for the relationship. So it is not important for me to be right all the time, for me to be so rigid. So they can be a little flexible. Being flexible is a sign of emotional intelligence. Okay. So I'm not saying that we should be a doormat, because that happens we feel like if you are in a toxic relationship, you feel like why am I adjusting so much? Why am I a doormat? Sometimes we feel that I have enough self-respect. So I hear this a lot from my clients. They tell me, why don't I have enough self-respect? And that is a very painful realization. That is a very painful statement to actually admit to somebody else, right? But that's how we feel internally. Now, if you're emotionally mature, you're more inclined to being a little flexible. But if you're immature, you will not be very flexible. There is a lot of rigidity. They won't be able to admit what they are going through. So let's say in the beginning, I said that they cause fear in other people. So it means that they have let's say they have anger issues. So if you have anger issues, it means that you're avoiding something inside of you. You're not able to admit that I feel guilty for what I did. I'm not able to see that, admit that. So instead, I'm going to cause fear in you. This is manipulation. I am not able to see how guilty I am feeling. I'm not able to face that I am feeling insecure. So instead, I'm going to be angry and make you the problem. Okay, so this is immaturity, because you're not mature enough. You are a grown woman or a grown man, but we are not able to see our own emotions and deal with it, but instead we push it on the other person. So there will be, because of this, obviously there will be lack of closeness or emotional intimacy. So also it happens that physical intimacy will also come into question. If there is no emotional intimacy, physical intimacy can be extremely terrifying for the individuals who are very toxic by nature. Okay. So this also happens, but again, everything that I'm saying is in a spectrum. Okay. They can be they can look like they are a little understanding. They may look like they are empathetic, but still they may carry out certain patterns that are hard to detect, toxic patterns. So everything exists in a spectrum. Okay. So there will be lack of closeness and they will be unsupportive. So it's not about you. You have no space in the relationship. You have no space in the office. Whatever they say matters. Whatever they need matters. What you are bringing to the table is not valid. You shouldn't even be talking about it. So that's how they make you feel. Hence, they are very unsupportive and possibly jealous. So jealousy is very common for people who are toxic. And now, also, before I go into some of the other words that I want to explain. So basically, we are all toxic. Okay. So if you are identifying that, oh, yes, I am toxic, somewhere I have toxic traits, that means you are a safe individual to be with because you know yourself. So you will go back and try to fix what is not right. But if you cannot admit and you keep lying, you keep hiding, that is very toxic. And also, these people who are extremely toxic have very low self-awareness, in the sense their whole life is a lie and they cannot see within themselves. It's very difficult for them to identify what they are feeling, sit with that grief or sit with that guilt or insecurity and deal with it. It's extremely difficult. Hence, their self-awareness will be very low. So how you can identify this is if you cannot have a conversation with them. If you're going to go tell them that, hey, I saw you do this, I just wanted to know if things were okay, immediately they'll become very defensive. They will say things which are unrelated. They will say things to make you feel guilty for something unrelated again. They will switch topics. You cannot have a conversation with them. So let's get into the other part. So as I said, these toxic patterns we all have, but if you're aware of it, you can escape it. If you're not aware of it, you will be stuck to another toxic person for a longer time until you do the work to make yourself okay. Okay. And so, yeah. And for some people, their personality itself will be like that. It's not a trait that they have learned from the environment. So like you and me, we see certain toxic things in ourselves. I don't want to, we feel guilt. I don't want to do that again and all that. And we talk about it to our friends or family members and say, hey, this happened. I don't feel very good about it. You're able to talk about it. So it means that you are, you have those traits and you're ready to work on them. But for some people, their personality itself will be like that. So no matter, even if they talk the talk, they know how to talk. They learn how to talk because of looking at you. Okay, if I act like I am guilty about something, the other people will trust me more and I will get what I want from them. So they will learn these things, but internally they have nothing much. There's no depth inside. Okay. So there will be low self-awareness, low emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, and what they have is called a fragile ego. They will very easily feel disrespected. Okay, very easily. Simple things will really spark off their rage, or they will shut down, or whatever it is. They will feel very powerless very easily. Okay, their ego will be very fragile. It'll be very easy to break them. But they will not show you that they feel broken. Instead, they will make you feel bad. And they are possibly good at cognitive empathy. So, which means here they know how to talk. Oh, your puppy died. That's so sad. I know this must be very hard time for you. They know what to say, but they don't feel it. I don't care if your puppy died. It's just a dog. I don't care why some people would feel so bad about it or make it look like it's a big deal. Probably he or she is just looking for attention and they're just desperate to get my attention from them. So I'm going to act like I'm giving them attention so that I get what they want. I'm sorry, so that I get what I want from them at a later stage. So I can talk about it at a later stage. I will say, hey, when your dog died, I was there with you the whole time. But now when when I'm facing bankruptcy or I'm not having a job, you're not even telling me about referring me to your organization. You're not even lending me money. So it's a hook. So cognitive empathy. Cognitive in the sense thinking. Like only in the thought level there will be empathy, but not from the heart. So they have very good communication skills. As I said, it's all in a pattern. They know how to talk, but it doesn't come from their heart. They are very good at delegating because they're very bad at taking responsibility. So it will be so easily they'll make other people do what even things that they are supposed to be doing. But they make other people think that they are supposed to be doing that. That is the level of manipulation that they are really good at. So they are good at sounding confident or sounding like the real victim. So you can hear multiple times again and again, this will be a pattern with that person that they are always the victim. It will be, they will tell you stories from 10, 20 years ago. They will, in every story, they will be the person who has honored, who's martyred, who's done everything, sacrificed for everybody. They will make it look like they are the real victim. They are very good at that. Okay, that is also a way to gain control or control of the narrative, like how the story goes, whatever story that goes on between you and them. So the only thing more exhausting than being in a toxic relationship is pretending that you are not in a toxic relationship. So when we sat as a group, I asked them. So after I finished this particular, like we spoke together, like you and me, we were here for the last 10, 20 minutes, right? So after I finished this talk live with a group of people, and I asked them, can you show me this gesture? Can you show me like a thumbs up to say that, yes, I've been through this toxic relationship, because you cannot continue be exhausting yourself being alone with this, and can you do this to me? I expected like 2 or 3 or maximum 4 people to do that, because first thing, it's not easy to admit that, yes, I am in a toxic relationship, that too in a public forum. But you know what? Everybody who are there in the live session did this. And of course, I was shocked to notice that everybody felt the same way, and they've gone through this with different people in their lives. Okay. So the effects of mental health, I'm going to quickly run through this and we'll come to the end of this video. So the effects that you'll start facing because of continually being with such a person or such a relationship, be it either in a job that is draining, you have so because they're so good at making you feel like you are the problem, you don't have enough skills, you don't have enough whatever. So they make you feel like you're not enough. You keep getting stuck there because you think that they know everything. Okay. So because of this, if you are with them for a long term, these are the things that you'll start feeling. Okay. You're going to start thinking that, is this normal? I hear this with so many of my clients. Is this normal? Like, is this how all men are? Is this how all marriages will be? Is this how it is in all offices? Are all bosses like this? So you start really questioning. That's like the little flicker of light that comes up and says, hey, it's possible that it's not normal. How they are behaving is not normal. So because of this question, you start to feel isolated, extremely isolated, because you feel I shouldn't be feeling so bad. Why am I feeling so bad? And you feel like everybody else have got it better. And, they have better boyfriends, they have better girlfriends, their wives are much better, or their husbands are more caring. And you start feeling very isolated because nobody talks about these icky things that happens. Right? So you start feeling isolated and you say this word constantly, it's not that bad. This marriage is not that bad. So this is a very triggering incident, that I'm going to tell you. This is going to be hard. So I've heard this many times. Okay, so this is one individual who used to keep saying that he is not that bad. Sometimes I think that. And this is the same woman who was mistreated physically when she was pregnant. So she says he is not that bad. So that is the amount of manipulation that goes into you. Okay, so you are not clear, you get so confused because of all the fear and guilt that keep that is the foundation of your relationship. Love and respect is not the foundation of the relationship. Fear and guilt. So because of all that confusion, can you see these faces? It's like she's smiling, she's angry, she's sad. She's smiling, she's angry, she's sad. So this is the pattern that goes on and on and on, because at one end of the spectrum, you think that he's so good, he's doing all these things to me. Or if it's your wife, you think that she's doing all these things for the family. She's actually very caring. She's good to my mom, or she, whatever it is, she's actually a victim of her life. She went through so much. Or it could be anybody, your friend, you know he's going through so much, that's why he keeps asking money. And then the other end, you feel so angry that why aren't they taking steps to improve their lives? Why do I have to keep lending them money? Why do I have to keep doing that? Why do they make me feel like I'm selfish, I'm not doing enough? So it could be like, so this sort of confusion keeps going on, and you think, am I the problem? So this comes up a lot. So because of guilt and fear. And the next thing is, I'm sorry, emotional numbing. So you can't make decisions. So even making simple decisions feels very overwhelming because of lack of support, because of lack of emotional mirroring. So they don't really regulate with you. Regulate in the sense, if I'm feeling sad, I'm sitting like this, you're going to come and ask me, hey, is everything okay? Even though you don't want to invest all your time and energy into making me feel better. Give me a minute. Mitsu, can you reduce the volume, please? So sorry about that. That was real life. So anyway, so the decision making can become very hard because of lack of support. Okay, so what happens as a response to all that stress is emotional numbing. So you start to numb your emotions because you can no longer feel them. It's so overwhelming. So the symptoms of emotional numbing is you keep scrolling the phone, you keep sitting in one place, you don't do things that you normally do, like even bathing becomes a big chore. So you call that depression. So I'm calling that a response to your stress because it's too much. You no longer can decide what's happening. Obviously, you're so confused. What would you do? And you start to think that you start to think, am I the problem, right? Because they make you feel that everybody is basically insecure all the time. It's so common. So they start to highlight all these insecurities over and over again. You start to think you are the problem, and then something happens which is called reactive anger. You start being the abuser in the relationship because it's so confusing. You can no longer take it. So your fight response starts kicking in. Fight response means when there is stress, we respond with either shutting ourselves away, isolating ourselves, running away from the problem, or fighting the problem because we can no longer handle it. So that is reactive anger. So you are not the bad person. You're just reacting to all of that stress that's happening. So I cannot think of anything else because that is one thing that happens because there's a lot of rumination. You sit with one problem for hours, days, and weeks together. You think of the same thing, you go in cycles. Okay. So because why you're going in cycles is because you go to that person to find where is the ground here. Are we going towards the solution? Where is the ground? Can I understand you better? So you're trying to do that, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't come to a closure. But on the other hand, you have all this trust, love, and respect for that person. You don't know what to do with that. So you get stuck in your own brain. You keep overthinking. So what happens next is unpredictability, and because of unpredictability, there is lack of safety and trust. So overall, with everybody in your life, you feel that you feel lesser trust with everybody. You start shutting people away. Probably this was one way they could control you. They spread lies about you to your own family and friends or whatever. They twisted the stories because they like a control over the narrative, right? So how the story goes, like making themselves look like the victim or making themselves look like I did so much and she's not really being grateful for it or whatever, So they like to control the narrative. So you feel lack of safety and trust in yourself also. So you don't know where you begin and where. So you don't know about yourself that much. You start mistrusting yourself and mistrusting other people as well. You become very rigid. And so in the end, if you go down this route, you start to make generalizations. All marriages are like that only. So recently there was, I don't want to judge this person because I don't know them that much, but they came to me and they said that, my daughter is going through the same thing, which I did, but I also went through the same thing. That's how all marriages are. So this was very sad to hear, but also I don't know where she came from, where what that sentence actually means. Like, is there a deeper meaning to it? I don't know. Or what the problem was, I don't know. But this is what happens. We start normalizing abuse so much that you don't see it anymore. Okay. So acting like the abuser in order to protect ourselves. So this is like, ingrained patriarchy or ingrained conditioning that happens. We women judge other women also. So you see a very confident woman on stage, taking a leadership role, you immediately think that she must have abandoned her kids, or she must be very selfish and greedy about money. She doesn't have values. So we instantly have thoughts like that, right? So we become a component, an integral component of a system that's not working. It's not working in the sense, the foundation of the system is not love and giving. The foundation of the system is fear and guilt. So you become part of what the abuser is doing, even without your compliance. You were not okay with it, but you became a part of it because you normalized abuse. So this is what happens when, if we keep going down this track. Okay, so why we do that, why we ourselves become abusive or become like the abuser, or we ourselves carry toxic traits, is because, one, we wanted to protect ourselves. So we think that either you can be an abuser or you can be the victim. So I don't want to be the victim. So we don't want to face our emotions. It's so painful, so overwhelming. So instead, I want to be more powerful instead of feeling like the victim. My emotions. So we think that emotions make us weak. Vulnerability is for weak individuals, and confidence means hiding your emotions. So we think that, and we become abusive without our own compliance. We don't know we are doing that. So we want more sense of control. So yes, so these are so as I'm looking at the screen again, so to remove feelings of isolation, I wanted to bring a group together and talk about whatever they were going through. And we did that in a live session, and it was so beautiful. Even though they were not able to come for I am conducting a 1 month paid group session, so it will be live. But actually, that is just a bonus. The actual thing that you get out of this 1 month is 1 month worth of concepts and materials that can really empower you. Okay, so I wanted to show you all the reviews also. Just give me a minute. So this is the group live sessions we'll have, and also group sessions. Group sessions will be based on the number of participants. So if there are more participants, we can have group sessions. Otherwise, you will get the course content. So for 1 month, what you learn is identifying manipulative tactics. You'll identify how that process actually happens, the process of making you feeling fear or guilt, how that happens, how it is so slow, subtle, and hidden. So all those processes you will learn. So you'll start personalizing it and not engage with that. And second thing is why you were chosen. So why you keep going back to the pattern? What is something you need to know about yourself? So these are also patterns that we've seen in survivors. Okay. And how to go forward and other self-care methods. So let's now see like how did it actually help people? So let's do some practical work. Okay. Let's really see, is this really worth it? Is this course or whatever I'm trying to say, is it really worth it? Okay. Just give me a few minutes so that I can share the, I'm going to share something interesting. Okay. So if you can see, this is week 1. So in week 1, I asked them, how did you feel about week 1? I also provide a handbook that you can use. So they say that I understand how well Miss Janani shared her knowledge here to participants, make them understand about manipulation tactics, comfortable to share their pain and experience. It was a great session, very informative, more awakening. And this one, I have better understanding of where I stand while being manipulated. So she understands about herself. I'm more aware of what is happening around me and how I'm forced to respond in a certain way. Your decisions no longer become yours. Your emotions no longer become yours. It becomes you merge with that toxic individual. So I'm feeling to focus on myself a lot. So after the first week, she started to realize that she has to focus on herself more than the agenda that the manipulator or abuser will be having, and stopping myself or trying to change the way that things are, trying to change the other person. She wanted to change about herself. So positive, constructive, and grateful. Now I want you to look at this. This is week 4. So this is after the whole thing was over. I will show you week 2 first. I think we can go from there. Week 2 is I'm able to take stand for what I want and make sure to say no whenever needed. So they felt a little overwhelmed but eager to go forward because it is that intense. The course is very intense. It's about changing your thought processes from the root. Okay, so it was more about looking inside and seeking answers than looking out. So we started to become more self-aware. Okay, right. Give me a minute. Because of this screen. Okay. So here they say, made me realize finally that I have achieved something that believed impossible. So I felt very heartwarming when I read this, that they believe that it was impossible, but they could do it. And staying aware of how people are trying to be manipulative and focusing on my reaction and controlling my feelings. So this is a powerful point of you understanding that the power was always in you. Okay, so you can live a better life. There is hope. And this is week 4, and this will be the last I want to share with you because I don't want to take too much of your time. And she says, I want to read this whole thing. This month's ETR program was amazing. Looking back, I can't believe how much I've grown in just a month. It's given me so much strength and self-awareness, feeling really good about myself. Thanks for the program. Your unique, gentle, and straightforward approach. So she feels good about my approach. I'm planning to focus on self-care, live my own life, and not one dictated by others. The group sessions were a huge help. Again, group sessions are based on number of participants, so please enroll. I could share my story without judgment. I learned to be open, share my deepest fears and insecurities, and turn them into strengths. How amazing is that somebody could do that? I think that is very honorable. And thanks to everyone in the group. So as you can see, this is a very powerful course and I want you to be a part of it. If you've come this far, I know you're eligible. I know you are awakened. You can do this. There is hope. So come, let's do this together, and send me an email at reachout.saferspaces@gmail.com and I will send you more details. Or if you already know me, message me and we'll start this course for you. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.